Hey, welcome back to the channel. My name's John. Today is day 12 of my 2-month Fasted-Thenics challenge. Let me start with the numbers. 200.9 on the scale, so getting really close to the 200 mark. 117/71 for blood pressure, 75 milligrams per deciliter for blood glucose, and 5.8 millimoles per liter on ketones. So continuing to look good there. I did decide to pinpoint the exact day that I would like to break the fast. So I'm picking day 64 for a few different reasons, and I'll go over those in the future. But the main one is my wife and I are taking a vacation. And we happen to be going to Hawaii, so I thought, what better way to break the fast than with something that I've never eaten before. So I'm sure whatever I end up choosing, it's going to be something delicious. And two, that's going to be all the more intensified because of me not eating any food for over 2 months. So I'm going to kind of go over my expected weight drop. I looked at it earlier today, throwing out the first day's weight loss and kind of generating a line on a graph. It looks like I'm going to lose somewhere around 5 pounds per week going forward, which at the end of this week puts me at 200 pounds roughly. And then if we continue that through the 9-week point, which would be day 63, I should be right around 165 pounds. Now, I don't know that I'm going to hit that mark exactly. Maybe it slows down. Yeah, I don't intend to change anything about the structure of this challenge. I've been dwindling coffee down to just 2 cups in the morning. And I may decide at the 1 month point to just go ahead and drop coffee altogether and just keep it to the bone broth and the protein shake. And maybe I'll consume green tea in the place of it, which is what I'm doing now. I'm basically, I've moved the green tea from the evenings. I used to do that between 6 and 8 usually. I moved it down to kind of replace that second mug of coffee. So anyway, I don't know that really affects anything at all, but just I'm sure some of you are curious what kind of loss I do expect to have. Last summer, I basically fasted with just water for 4 weeks, and then I continued on. The original goal was 50 days. And I ended up extending it for a number of reasons, but I ended up going to 61 and a half days. And there was a point at what was going to be the midway point. After I got the day 25 lab results, I decided to start consuming bone broth and an electrolyte supplement, and I started putting on weight. And that took a while because I wasn't being very scientific about it. I was kind of just arbitrarily drinking a glass of bone broth 2-3 times a day. I didn't really keep a tally on it. It was a busy time, but this time I am being very regimented about it. I actually have glasses where I've got the 1 cup mark marked on there with some white electrical tape. And so I basically just hit the 4 cups, 1 cup of the protein shake, 1 cup of the bone broth after each of the 4 workouts. And then, so I got distracted there. So basically last time, because I introduced the bone broth and the salt intake, the electrolytes, at the midway point, I started putting back on weight. Some of that might have had to do slightly with the calories, but I have a feeling that a considerable amount of that had to do with water retention. I'm not a doctor or a research expert by no means. So I'll look into it in a future video. But for this daily video, just know that the graph from last time wasn't consistent. And the reason why I go through all of that is because at day 61 and a half, I ended up at roughly 165 pounds. Now, looking at some of the videos and pictures from around that time, I am extremely thin. My arms are goodness. Like my upper arms were maybe the size of my forearm at this point. And I don't feel, I'm trying to think of some real world examples for someone in roughly my situation. I'm a 49, almost 50-year-old man. I don't exercise regularly. I have a fairly sedentary job. Now, the past few years, I've been toying around with the ketogenic diet a little more seriously. Not like by year, but more by like a 3 to 4 month period at a time, and just kind of cycling in and out. Last year I tried that long fast. Obviously I tried other fasts before that ranged from 5 to 7 days. So I've done this before. I'm confident I can get to day 64 this time, but basically some examples. So at the beginning of last year's fast, we started a really strenuous landscaping project near the beginning of that. So for the first week and a half, and it was outside at near 100-degree temperatures. So I consumed an extreme amount of water during that first week and a half, and consumed nothing but the water. So I'm sure I flushed quite a bit of electrolytes out of my system. So that's one downside. Obviously not a scientific situation as far as even an N of 1 study, but what I can tell you that as far as the way I felt, I'd say after about 2.5 to 3 weeks, I started feeling a bit weaker. It would, instead of, jogging up the steps to go upstairs, I was having to just kind of trudge up the steps. Washing my hair, I would experience my upper arms, my shoulders, just experiencing kind of that muscle burn that you experience from holding, a tool over your head for an extended period of time, like a cordless drill or something. Now, I've talked about this before, but so I did experience that on like early on, say, I think it was day 3 or 4 of this fast. And I think that had to do with, at that point in time, my body didn't know what was going on. So obviously we're able to sustain ourselves during periods of feast and famine. Most of us nowadays, food's so plentiful, we have refrigerators and grocery stores. We never have to go without food, really. We're eating, some of us, 3 meals a day plus snacks, and arguably that's way too much eating. In order to get into a ketogenic state where you kind of get to the point where you're depleting your muscles of glycogen and your liver starts producing ketones, and your body has to start utilizing that for fuel, there is a little bit of a hiccup when that switch gets flipped. And I believe that, around the 3 to 5 day mark, that's when I kind of experienced a little bit of a drained feeling. I was feeling some soreness from doing the exercises, so that could have played a part into that as well, that kind of drained feeling. But I suspect that it's just a normal, you're going to get some transitioning sensations as you go from burning basically sugar for fuel and burning fat. So I chalk it off to that. Now, sometimes I've experienced, the keto flu symptoms that people talk about, feeling kind of like almost body achy and just down, some of those flu-like symptoms where you know something's not quite right. I have felt that before, but not in this fast. And I talked about that in an earlier video where I think that may have to do with just the exercise that I introduced to this. So, excuse me. So anyway, I expect that I'm going to lose roughly 5 pounds per week, which will put me on the end of week 9 at day 63. I should be somewhere close to 165 pounds. Now, the reason for the protein shake and the raw eggs and the calisthenic exercises that I'm doing is so that I try and maintain more muscle mass than I did last time. I lost a considerable amount. Now, obviously, you know, when you're in a ketogenic state versus in the normal state, I'm not sure what that's called. Somebody might be able to help me out with that. There is a difference in water retention, I've noticed. So I have a body composition scale, and so when I step on that, I don't think it's taking an accurate reading of me right then and there standing on the scale, like shooting electricity up through my legs and kind of figuring out what's going on. I think, and I'm just guessing on this, maybe I should contact the maker of the scale and ask them. I think what's happening is they know your weight. They ask you whether you're basically an athlete that works out, 3-5 times a week versus just an average Joe. And they know what an average Joe is, so I'm sure they've just done studies where they've had various types of people use the scale on a daily basis and then have them do more accurate body composition tests besides the scale, and then generated some sort of algorithm to kind of calculate based on weight and some sort of electrical reading as far as maybe a resistance reading, to kind of generate a number for muscle mass, fat mass, your bone mass, and then a completely separate number, because those three add up to the weight on my scale, and then they give you a completely separate reading for just the composition, the part of your body composition that is water. So the first three numbers, each one of those has some water in them, and those three add up to the total weight. The separate number is just water standalone, so that I guess so you can have an idea of how well you're keeping up with hydration. So anyway, I should end up somewhere around 165. If I keep on more muscle mass than last time, or I actually put some on, then I may weigh more than that. Now, the only caveat is obviously if I feel in any way that I am risking my health, I may decide to end this. Obviously, it's a goal, and I try pretty hard to hit those goals, but I'm not going to risk my health. So anyway, what I think I'm going to do is I am going to ask you guys what your opinion is as far as how I should break my fast. So before I break my fast, I am going to make sure that I get a final reading on my body composition scale and get those numbers. I may even look up a place there in Honolulu to see if somebody has a body composition, one of those bod pods or something like that I could go to and do that while I'm there before eating the food. And then it would be really interesting to see what happens, because obviously you're not going to put on a tremendous amount of muscle in a short period of time. So maybe go back after 3 days and see how my body composition numbers differ between before and after. That's probably not going to be possible. I'm just thinking about the logistics of that. This trip is going to be really compact and lots to do and a tight schedule and all of that. So that's probably not going to be possible. So I'll tell you what, I'm obviously not going to eat ketogenic while on vacation. When I get back, I'll maintain a certain, I may just do keto as soon as I get back and get a few readings on my body composition scale, and then just take a look at that over the coming weeks, because I'm sure as soon as I start eating sugar again, the composition is going to change somewhat, just because I was talking about the water retention thing. Those numbers are going to change quite a bit. So I'm trying to, how can I'll have to work on that one. But anyway, I'd like to ask you guys, besides any other comments and questions, I welcome them all. I'm a new channel, so please help me get going. I'm not, an expert by no means, but I do these kind of experiments on myself. I follow quite a few leading doctors and researchers. Many of them have podcasts. Some of them have books. I've listened through several medical lectures, and anyway, I'm just kind of like absorbing as much as I can. So I'd like to use this channel, one, to document my journey through these challenges, and two, to kind of aggregate some of that information in more of a general way, not like Dr. Rhonda Patrick would do. She's a doctor, and she references lab studies and all of that, and gets really nerdy with the technical aspects of it. I'm more interested in kind of dialing down useful, like, things that I can put into practice, and kind of just testing through some of these things until further studies can be done to kind of like isolate what actually works. And I really think that's going to be necessary no matter what, but I think in the future we'll know more than we do now. I think that's pretty obvious. So anyway, I'm gonna break my fast on day 64. And I would like, you guys to think about what kind of food that you might be interested to see me break the fast with. So there's a ton of Hawaiian food out there. I'm sure some of you have been to Hawaii before, and I'd be eager to see what you guys recommend. And I'll be talking about this over the coming weeks. And hopefully we get to day 64 and I'll be somewhere in Honolulu eating something delicious. So thanks for watching today. Please give me a like. Share the video if you know someone that's kind of geeking out on this kind of health stuff like I am, and you think that it might be helpful or just, sporadically interesting to someone. If you've got any comments or questions, please leave them below. And we'll see you in tomorrow's video. Thanks for watching.